Hello and welcome to this short recorded webinar on finding and making friends at university in 2020. My name's Gareth Hughes. I'm a clinical advisor to Student Minds, and we're going to take a little bit of time just thinking about what 2020 means in terms of socializing as a student, how we can think about making friends, and building that community and network around us in order to make the year as good as it possibly can be. Now, obviously here as we sit in 2020, depending on when you're watching this webinar, we know that it's going to be a very different year in terms of how socialization happens and how making friends happens. The webinar today, we're going to think about mainly the beginning of the academic year and how you can maybe utilize that to make and find friends. But the principles of what we're talking about, I think, hold good, and you can use them throughout your time at university. And actually beyond that, you could use those principles when going into any new environment. But we're going to start by just thinking about and talking about that beginning of the academic year overall. Now, obviously, we are expecting university to be very different. So this is the kind of thing you may have been expecting to take part in, depending on your background and what the kind of things that you like to do. But this is a very common kind of freshers party that would have happened at most universities last year and the year before and for many years before that. And obviously, these kind of events just aren't going to be happening this year. And again, depending on who you are, that may be a real loss, or you may be thinking, well, I wouldn't have been going anyway. But the fact that things are going to be quite so different this year, I think does mean we need to just pause and reflect on how we go about making friends and how we go about building up community. And we know from a lot of the research work that we've been doing and a lot of the listening work that we've been doing that making friends is something that students are particularly concerned about this year, because they're expecting things not to be the same, perhaps because events like the one on your screen aren't going to be happening. They're worried that they may likely be socially isolated, it might be more difficult to find friends, and also just that the year might be less fun overall. And those are important things. Those are things we do actually need to think about and pay some attention to. Because human beings are social creatures. We need each other. We aren't an island. We know that from just an evolutionary biological sense, we need to be connected with other people. If you think about this, back when human beings didn't have cities and universities and buildings to live in, when we lived out in the wild, the way that we survived was by banding together as a tribe, by looking after each other, by hunting together, by cooking together. We were able to keep each other safe from wild animals and the wild in general. So we've kind of evolved to need each other. We've evolved a need to be part of a community, to be connected with other people. And we know that when students are first coming to university, that's the thing they are most focused on. So that is completely normal. So if that's the number one thing in your head, how you're going to make friends, how all of that's going to work, you are in very good company. There are thousands of students all over the UK having exactly the same thought and entertaining exactly the same concern. And it's driven by that basic biological evolutionary need that we have, that when we go into a new environment, we need to feel that we are connected to other people. We need to feel that we are a part of that community, whether that's the university as we're talking about now, or being in school, or being in a place of work, or where we live, wherever it is. We want to feel that connection. We want to feel that we have people around us who can support us, who we can have fun with, and who can just make us feel that we belong. So let's just spool back and just think about those freshers events that would have happened in previous years that maybe aren't going to happen this year, in the light of that kind of idea about those evolutionary needs for social connection. And if we think about all of those events that may have happened previously, what is it that they were giving us? What is it that they were giving students? Well, obviously they were giving students fun. You know, lots of students on that screen at the club hopefully were having a really good time. They were dancing, they were getting to know each other. That would have been great. And there are lots of other types of freshers events, not all of them involving alcohol. They can be sporting events or games events or whatever they are, but things that bring people together in order just to have fun and pleasure. And fun and pleasure are important. We know, obviously, we want you to come to university to learn and to work hard, but as human beings, we do also need some pleasure in our life. We need some fun in order to thrive. So that's important. The other thing about those events is that they do provide an agreed social structure. There's a structure there that you can plug into without having to make any awkward efforts yourself to try and create something. So if everyone goes to the freshers ball and you go along, everyone else is going, so everyone's expecting to go there and meet new people and dance and have fun. So it's all laid out for you. You don't have to figure it out. It's obviously an opportunity then to meet new people, and all kinds of freshers events give you that opportunity. Again, whether they're things that involve clubbing or nightlife, or whether they're things that happen in the day, or they're kind of walking experiences, or whatever they are. And then all of those things together, what they do is they start to give you and the people you've just met some shared experiences. And by sharing those experiences together, that starts to create bonding between you. You start to feel connected to other people because you've gone through some of the same things. And then that creates some shared memories. And then you have a common history together. And what that's starting to do then is to build this idea of community, this idea of we all belong together. Remember when we all did those things together? All those kinds of shared thoughts and memories and ideas in your head are the things that can start to bring you together. Now, do remember that just because lots of those kinds of events aren't going to be happening this year, it doesn't mean your students' unions aren't still going to be providing freshers events. Some of them will be online, some of them will be socially distant, some of them may be outside, but your universities are working very hard at the moment to try to create opportunities for you to meet other people, to socially connect, and to build those friendships. So it's not like everything's going to disappear. So there will be some things that you can plug into and take advantage of. But I think the key thing is to focus down on those things we've just been talking about. If you can possibly let go of the idea of what things would have been like in previous years that aren't now going to happen. Because if you try to just recreate those or think about ways or focus on the fact that they're not happening, you're likely to end up just feeling frustrated and a bit disappointed. But instead, focus on what is available and what is happening, and look at those key things that we've just talked about. What can you do in those early weeks that's fun with other people, that has a social structure that allows people to come together and meet with some shared rules that you're not all having to navigate, where you can meet new people, share new experiences with the people you've just met, and start to create shared memories that make you all feel that you're connected to each other. And there are a multitude of ways in which you can do all of those things. And the other thing about this is you may find that they're actually more inclusive and more fulfilling. So, as I said at the very beginning, students looking at that picture of the students in the club, some students will have gone, yeah, absolutely, that's what I'd have wanted. And some students would have just gone, oh, that's not for me. For whatever reason, you just think that, maybe you're a mature student, you think that's not for you anymore, or you're a student who just doesn't like those kinds of environments because you find them too busy or too loud. Whatever the reason, that's absolutely fine. But what we might actually be finding here this year is that we have some opportunities to do something different that are more inclusive, that include more of the student community and give us all more opportunities to meet more people who we otherwise might not have met if things had been done in the old way. Now, the student community is in most places really diverse, and it's full of interesting people from backgrounds that will be different from yours and who will have different tastes and experiences and likes that you can learn from and share with. So if we can embrace the opportunity that we have this year, it gives us a chance to rethink how we build those communities. And if we're able to build that in a more inclusive way, then it might feel better for all of us. And you might end up with a more interesting group of friends than you ever would have discovered if you'd gone and done the things that existed previously. Now, this may mean you have to be more active. It may mean you have to take more of the initiative and rely less on the social structures that would have been provided for you before. But it does mean that the outcome might be much better for you. So the way through all of this is to take control of it and to plan. Now, this can feel a bit odd because a lot of the social things that we do, they're kind of things that are fluid and informal, and they happen in kind of soft spaces. So, you chat as you're walking out of a classroom, or you go along to a pre-arranged thing and talk to people in the gaps in between as you're coming out of the club or as you're going home, and that's how you get to know each other. And so taking a planned approach to it, where you're doing this in what seems like a quite structured, systematic way, can feel like you're putting a system to what should be a natural organic process. But actually, by doing that, what you can do is you can make yourself feel much more confident that what you're going to do is going to work, that you're more likely to find friends and build that friendship network that you want. And it's much more likely also to help other people around you, because if you're planning and building in a structured way, other people can do that around you as well. And it's less reliant on chance. So think about ways in which you can start to make that plan. Now, the key thing about this is to be flexible in your plan and to try and have a number of options. So we try and think about not just thinking, well, okay, I'm going to go to university and I want to make friends. So what I'll do is I'll go to that one club in society that represents the interest that I have, the hobby that I already do, and I'll go there and I'll meet somebody who will be my friend. Because then you're giving yourself one opportunity to do that. What's more useful is if you can think of, well, I'll do that, and I'll also try and have a conversation with people in my classroom. And if you're moving into halls of residence, well, I'll try and have conversations not just with people in my flat, but with people all around the building. And I'll try to go to a number of different student union societies and see how many people I can meet. And it's key to do this now within what feels possible for you, not to push yourself too far, and not everyone feels socially gregarious and is able to do all of that in one go. But to think about how many of these things are manageable for me and do as many of them as you can so that you're not reliant on one of those ways working. So that if you go along to that student union society that you thought where you might find a really good friend and you don't, well, it doesn't matter as much because you've got lots of other opportunities that you can take up as well. It's also worth thinking about the fact that you can start to use online spaces and forums prior to arriving at university. So you can start to build some of those relationships and some of those networks before you get there. Now, your university may be providing some before you get there, but there are some national ones, things like Student Room, where you might be able to meet students who are going to your university. And then once you get into your university, you may find that your university or your student union offer a number of online forums. The advantage of those is that sometimes you can put out requests to meet people or suggestions to do things, and it feels less awkward because you're not doing it in front of other people. It's easier to do to kind of type out a shout out to people to suggest something from your room than it is to actually try and do it in a room full of people. So make use of those kinds of opportunities to build up as many of these possibilities as you can. And then think about the ways in which you might want to use those opportunities as you go along. So think about class, for instance. When you come into class, you're going to be in class with a whole load of other people who have all chosen to study the same thing as you. So there's a good chance that you may find some similar-minded people on your course. But you may need to think about how you use the classroom environment and the online class environment, because most students are going to be doing blended learning this year, to think about how you can bring those conversations together. Now, one of the things we often notice with students is you might walk into your classroom, let's say it's on campus on the first day, and you walk into a classroom, and you see a group of students sitting reasonably close together, having a conversation, and your brain will automatically go, oh, those people know each other. They're having a really detailed conversation. They won't want me to interrupt because they're all really close friends who have known each other for years. When in actual fact, they might have met 2 minutes before you walked into the room and are perfectly happy for you to go and join them. Remember, at the beginning of the academic year, every student in the building knows that every other student in the building is meeting people for the first time. So people are much more accepting and much more open to you going along and just saying, oh, hello, can I introduce myself? Who are all of you? And then think about how you can translate that into online spaces as well. Many online classrooms have chat functions where you can go in and at the beginning of class, before your lecturer starts speaking, put in an introduction, say, hello, this is who I am. It's nice to meet you all. Where are you all from? Or if you are pulled into breakout rooms to have discussions on particular things your lecturer has said, taking the opportunity to introduce yourself to each other, or using the chat rooms at the end to just kind of say to people, would anyone like to meet up in person, socially distancing for a walk or in the park or whatever it is that you might want to do. So think about how you can use that resource of the classroom to give you the opportunity to meet people. We've talked about using those online forums already, and I think, again, as I say, it's a really good small step that you can build at any time of the year, not just at the beginning, to start making connections with other people. Then do sit and look at the student union clubs or societies, or the guild clubs and societies, depending on the university where you are, and look for things that you might be interested in. Now, don't look for the perfect match for your interests. There might be something, you might love playing football and there's a football team and you can go and join them, and that's fantastic. But if there isn't a perfect match, it doesn't matter. Remember, what you're looking for are venues where you can go and meet people who might share some similar interests to you. So even if the thing that club or society does doesn't feel like an exact match for you, if there's a possibility that the people there might share some interests or personality with you, go along, try it out. Join one of the online meetings if that's what they're doing, and test it. And if you do meet people that you really like, well, great. And if you don't, well, you've tried that, it didn't work, that's fine. You can go and try the next thing. But see if you can try a number of them. Now, you don't have to do all of these right away. This doesn't all have to happen in the first week. You can plan this out to do it over a number of weeks so that you can build this over time and in a way that feels manageable for you. If you live in student accommodation, as I said, Talk to the people in your flat if you're in a flat accommodation or on your floor. But do try and talk to people in other places as well. If there's a common room, if there are social events happening in your accommodations, quite often there are, go along to those and take advantage of them. If you're doing paid work and you've recently moved into the area, again, that people in your work may be part of your social network. Not everyone in your social network necessarily has to be part of your university. If you have the time and the capacity to do so, volunteering can also be a great way to meet other people and to build some really valuable, meaningful shared experiences. If you go and help other people to do something which is of real value in the community, then that's something that you've shared together. That's the beginning of a shared history of doing something really powerful together that might help make you feel part of that community and bonded to some other people. Or you may think about just using things like study skills classes or workshops that are happening either online or on campus. And again, take the opportunity to just have conversations and see if there are places that you can take that afterwards. And what we're talking about you doing is creating social structures. So there will be pre-existing social structures, as I said, that are still available. Just because some of the events that would have happened in previous years aren't happening, it doesn't mean that nothing's happening. There will be other things that go on. So you will probably have a class induction where you get a chance to meet other people. There will be student union activities going on in those first few weeks, and there will be student union clubs and societies. But think about creating some social structures of your own out of all of that as well. So you might just ask one or two people on your course to meet for coffee or to go for a walk so you can get to know each other better, or to get to know the local environment better. That's a good one. You can shout out to people and just kind of say, would anyone like to join me for a walk so we can all go for an explore around the local area? Or you may want to use a forum to put a shout out to suggest a larger socially distanced get together. So everyone in your class or in your floor or just people who are interested in X thing to come and get together. Or if other people are doing that, if you don't feel that you're kind of socially confident enough to do that, and you feel a little bit shy, which is perfectly fine, by the way, there's nothing wrong with being shy, but then look for the opportunity of jumping on the things that other people are doing. If other people are suggesting social activities, see if you can go along. And remember that not everything will work, and that's okay. If you go to an event and you don't enjoy it, it doesn't matter. You've gone and you've tried something out. It wasn't for you. There'll be other opportunities. And this is why I say it's important to think about not just doing one thing, but to try and do a number of things so that you have multiple opportunities to meet people. And remember, if you plan to go and do 10 things, and in 5 of them you don't meet anybody that you like and you didn't really enjoy it, but in the 5 others you meet 2 people in each one that you actually really like and want to spend time together, well, you've created a friendship network of 10 people. So it was worth doing. So, and it's difficult to predict in advance which things are going to absolutely work and which things aren't. So try out a number of them. And again, remember, that doesn't mean you have to do them all in the first week. You might try out those 10 things over the course of 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, whatever feels manageable for you. And remember our aim here. Our aim is that you have some fun in those first few weeks. In large or small ways, you might have some fun just sitting chatting with one other person, or it might be with a larger group. You're giving yourself the opportunity to get to know new people, as many as possible, as feels manageable for you, depending on who you are and how you like reacting to social situations. And then those shared experiences will lead to creating shared memories and the creation of a community. So if you go about this in a planned way, meet other people, give yourself social opportunities, those things inevitably do build towards the creation of a community around you. And then you will have friends and you will feel that you belong overall. And the outcome of all of that is, by taking that more planned effort, by having to make that more of a push this year, you may actually find that your social interactions at the beginning of the year are more rewarding than they otherwise would have been. Sometimes those old things that we've done, like going out clubbing with people, can feel like they're quite a safe thing to go and do because everyone's doing it. But actually what comes out the other end of it can be quite superficial because you didn't really get a chance to talk. You didn't really get a chance to bond that much. Whereas this year, the things that you do in those first few weeks may be much more fulfilling. And as a result, it might be possible that in a year or two's time, you look back on this and think, do you know what? I'm kind of glad our year worked out the way it did, because actually I got to really get to know people much better. I got to make more interesting friends. I got to meet a wider circle of friends than I otherwise would have done. But also because I took control of it, because I planned things out and acted on it, my social confidence really built, because I now know that any situation I'm going into in future, I can think about planning it out, acting on those plans step by step, bit by bit, and being confident that if I do that, I will be able to build a community and a connection with the people around you. And remember, there are many students at your university, in some cases thousands of them, which means that there will be people there who can be your friend, people who you will like and who will like you. But you've got to give yourself the opportunity to find them. Don't trust it to chance. As much as possible, try and take control, plan it, put yourself in the places where those people are most likely to be, and have the courage to just push yourself outside your comfort zone that little bit. And that's what we're talking about here in these first few weeks. That you just push yourself outside your social comfort zone a little bit to put yourself in social situations and introduce yourself to other people so that you're not getting overwhelmed by the effort, but you're also not just doing the things that you normally do. You're pushing yourself a little bit more. And as a result, you'll feel more confident, you'll develop your social skills, and you will definitely make those other friends. Now, don't forget, if you feel you need support or things aren't working exactly how you want to, don't be afraid to use the supports around you. Universities put an enormous amount of support around their students, and we do treat your social interaction with other students seriously. We know it's important that you feel you belong and that you've made friends and that you feel connected with other people. So if you aren't finding that in those first few weeks, we do think it's really important. So do please feel free to come and connect with the support that's available in your university. That might be within student services, for instance, if you're particularly finding it difficult to manage social situations, or if trying to go into new situations is making you feel anxious. Students' Union will be able to give you advice on the kinds of things that are around, and many students' unions or guilds also have advice centres who may be able to point you in the direction of people who might be able to help you out. There are chaplaincies at many universities again, and sometimes they provide really useful and different types of social situations where you might feel more comfortable. Your tutors and your lecturers, that particularly if you feel like your classroom, the cohort's not coming together, talk to them. They will treat that as being important. And then there are other things that different universities provide. So lots of universities provide mentor opportunities where you can meet students in the second or third year who will be able to give you advice. Or you may find that in your hall of residence with hall staff, or they may provide wardens who are students who will be able to guide you to spaces that you might not have previously considered where you can meet up with new friends. So there are lots of options and lots of routes to you finding that friendship network that will hold you and travel with you through your student journey. So what we're talking about here really is having a plan and focusing on what actually matters. The way in which this social interaction happens at the beginning of the year actually doesn't really matter. The fact that some of those social events that would have happened in previous years aren't going to happen this year, that's not the thing that actually matters. What matters is what those social situations give you the opportunity to do. Having fun, having some social structure, meeting those new people, and then starting to build those key building blocks of friendship, having those shared experiences and building those shared memories so that you feel connected to each other. Remember not to look out for the perfect. Don't look for the perfect friendship, the perfect person, or the perfect group, because you probably won't find them. Even if you do find the perfect person, actually, you might not recognize them as being perfect right away. I mean, if you think of every romantic comedy that you've ever seen, it's generally two people who meet and don't find themselves perfect at the beginning and then grow to understand each other a little bit more. And then as they do, recognize that they are the person that is perfect for them. So don't expect to find the person who's perfect for you straight away, because even if you do, you probably won't recognize them. So look instead for people who you can spend some time with, have some fun with, do some meaningful activity with, build up those shared experiences and memories with. Do allow yourself to enjoy whatever you can. Throw yourself into what you're able to, but don't push yourself too far. We want to go just outside our social comfort zone so that we're pushing ourselves along and building that social network, but not feeling overwhelmed. Use those structures and the support that's available to help you get there. And then be open to this year being good, perhaps even better than the experience you would have had. We don't know if it definitely will be or not. It might be better, it might not. But if you're open to the possibility, you open yourself up to more opportunity, to enjoying it, to having a good year, to making some really great friends, and then going and having a student experience that you will look back on in future years fondly with really good memories and really pleased that you came to university and had that really good time. Most students, when they come to university, under whatever circumstances, do find friendship groups. May take a day or two, may take a week or two. Don't necessarily expect it to happen instantaneously or like magic as it does in the movies. But if you plan and if you act and if you use the structures and the support that are around you, you will find those friends, you will find that sense of belonging, and you will then enjoy your time at university. And don't forget, use the supports around if at any time you feel that you need it, including the advice and support that you can find here on Student Space. I hope this recorded webinar was useful. Enjoy your year. Good luck, and I hope you meet some really interesting friends. Thank you.